Greetings and welcome to Hexed and Countered. I'm Joe. In this video, I'm going to be doing some gameplay from the game Fall of Berlin, the end of the Thousand-Year Reich. This is from Legion Wargames and designed by Michael Taylor. The map was done by Edmund Hudson. And as you can see, this is the map here. We do have an inset map of Berlin right here. And of course, the city itself is here. So I actually put the forces on the inset map. It's all garrison, except for the Schicklgruber counter there at the Reichstag. There is a second map. I did do a first look, and you could see that on the website. This is the other map, which is just the same thing, slightly smaller. This gives us well, I guess it's about the same actually, but this gives us the inset map of Berlin and also has the tracks on it for the victory point track and the turn track and all that good stuff. That is excluded from the, well, actually it's not excluded, but it's smaller. So we just get a little bit more room here, and I figured it would be a little bit better for video to use the bigger one. If and when we get into Berlin here, you will see we'll be able to focus more on this area as well as, you know, general area around the battle itself. So the first thing I want to talk about briefly is the setup. So the Germans set up first, and they actually have some variation in what they can do. They're given basically kind of anchor cities along the Oder here and then down south a little bit as well, that they use as their center of what you're going to put there in terms of within X hexes, usually 1 or 2. In one case, I think here at Cottbus, I think it's 3. But like Seelow up here, with the Seelow Heights, of course, there were units that had to be within, I think, 1 or 2 of this one. And then Frankfurt an der Oder is right here. And then up in the north, you've got Angermund and Schwedt. And that might be it. There was, oh, it's this one, Münkenberg. So that's kind of how the Germans are set up. And you can see they kind of snake through here. They're along the lines of the Oder, right? So we're on the verge of the massive Soviet assault that jumped the Oder and then, you know, basically went right at Berlin. The Oder, of course, is here. And we have a massive Soviet buildup on the other side. These units are strong. They are relatively plentiful. And they come in 2 groups. You've got the Belorussian Front, the first Belorussian Front of Marshal Zhukov. That is this one. That is the much larger, I guess, faction involved here. Now you also have a little bit of Rokossovsky, who's up here. And you have Konev, who is the other sizable force, not as big as Zhukov's, but it's down here. And that's the first Ukrainian front. So they're along here where there is no river. They've already crossed the Oder. So they have the ability to kind of just push in here against a relatively, the German forces obviously at this point in the war were weak. They were weak, they were thin, they had very little armor, no air, and things were dire to say the least. So this is a very thin force here facing Konev, which gives Konev a bit of an advantage, but the numerical advantage strongly is in Zhukov's favor. There are some reinforcements here at the bottom that you can see. They're not technically on map yet. These are Konev's reinforcements that will enter in turn 1. So reinforcements always enter at the end of movement phase in this game, so they will come in after everybody else has already made their move. Couple of other minor points. You can play the game either with 9 turns or 7. We will play 7 because it's shorter. And also there is a stacking limit of 3 units per hex that is not in effect in turn 1 for the Soviets. They are allowed, and in some cases, like right here, they have 4 units in a hex, but that is only for turn 1. Okay, so here is the sequence of play. And you can see initial, reinforcement, movement, combat, end of turn. Now, the initial phase doesn't get much mention here in the rulebook. It's really hardly mentioned at all, except for where you see it right there. It does mention under German demoralization that they would then have to roll for, excuse me, step losses during the initial phase. As far as I can tell, that might be the only mention of it. So, and then the reinforcement phase, I would say that maybe this doesn't necessarily need to go where it is. It should be flipped with movement, in my opinion, because reinforcements arrive after, or as I mentioned earlier, they arrive at the end of the movement phase. So the movement phase, I would think, would come first. But I've already mentioned we have reinforcements down here at the bottom of the map, and that's all the reinforcements that there are here for turn 1. The Germans get some reinforcements in turn 5. There is some variance in that, in basically depending on how well the Soviets do, and that would be the 12th Army of Venk, who historically was ordered to relieve Berlin and basically obeyed that order and did not show up because he thought it was ultimately fruitless to do so, and he was correct, I believe, in that assessment. Okay, so we're going to start with the movement phase here. Now we're going to take all 3 of these units here. Soviet, what army is this? So 3rd Army, and you can see the 40th, the 41st, and the 35th divisions. They started here in this 3A. They're all marked. Well, not marked on the counters, but in the setup information, it tells you where every unit starts. So they're going to move here, which they can do. Okay, once you enter an enemy EZOC, you have to stop. Now, there was a river in between. I'm not sure. I think the EZOC still applies there, but I'm not 100% sure about that. Now we're going to move these guys up here to kind of fill in there. Okay, obviously you can see these are already across from German units now. And this one, you may move. Now you can move from an EZOC into another EZOC. This dotted line here is the border between the 1st Belarusian Front and the 1st Ukrainian Front. So we're going to jump the river here with these guys. They cannot move here because these are Zhukov's forces, and it says Zhukov right on the counter, and they cannot go here. That way, I'm going to basically just slide everybody down because we're going to make a massive attack here. So we're just going to slide down like so. And then down here, we're not going to move anybody. They're going to basically attack as well. So the movement phase here is pretty quick. Now on the German side, which won't happen until they get their movement, but I set this up basically to try and hold at the river, or at least inflict some casualties at the river. You're not going to hold, but inflict some casualties here to make it costly for the Russians to cross. Once they're across, of course, things are going to degrade quite quickly. They do have good defensible terrain here along the Seelow Heights, but that's about it. Once they're across the Oder, there is not a lot of good defensive terrain for the Germans to use before they get to the city. This line here is the Venk trigger line. If Soviet units get past here, then they are released. The Venk unit is released, and they can move here to Torgau. You can see an American flag here. That is where the U.S. forces ended up along the Elbe. This is the Elbe River here. So you have the Oder on this side and the Elbe on this side. And the Americans, of course, met the Soviets on the Elbe. But the Venk movement limit is here. The Berlin line of communications is here and up here. So that will play into things later on, and I'll get into that when we get to it. So for now, we're going to move on from the movement phase to the combat phase. Okay, so before we start adding up our combat factors here, I wanted to show you this on the terrain key. Now you have your helpful little maps here with numbers on them that tell you things, right? So this is the Oder, as you can see, and it has a 5 there, major river, hex side. So as far as the Soviets are concerned, to cross it will cost them 1 extra movement point, and they will be a 1 column shift rather, to the left on the CRT for combat that is crossing the river. So of course that benefits the Germans. They also have down here, you can see these red triangles. That of course is a fortification line. As you can see here along the Oder, we do have fortifications all the way down. for the Germans. And so those are outer fortifications, as denoted here by the number 10. And they get a -1 shift to the left plus a -1 DRM. Now, some of these down in the south, where there is no river, they get the benefit of forest hexes and or woods, and that also provides a -1 shift to the left. We do have our CRT, it's right here. This is a 1d6 game, so it's a very simple one die roll, and you figure out what happens. And of course, you do need to determine the ratio of attacker to defender. Okay, so other things that I would want to mention here before we begin is the ability to use bombardment and assault. So that is that uses these here, right? And you can see they have various column shift values on them. They are also limited by the fronts. Zhukov has 3 and Konev has 2. They can only be used in specific situations like attacking across a fortification line, which would be the case like here and here and here for Konev, and then all of these for Zhukov. They're also across the Oder, which is the same thing basically. They also would be able to do it there. The other places they can do it is on the Seelow Heights, which are these 3 hexes here, and in Berlin. So, and the way that works is you add up the points. So let's say, we're going to start up top, right? So we have 2 units here from Rokossovsky, and we'll have them assault. Well, actually, yeah, he's attached. He's attached, so we can use that here. So you could put like one of these on here and say they're assaulting. Maybe we'll do it with this one. Yeah, we'll do it there. Then the other one we'll use it on is maybe this one and this one, right? Now, as I said, Konev can't really do it because he, well, actually he can. He can use it in these 2, with those 2. So let's do that as well. Konev has his own. You can see there are 2 of them. They say Konev on them. We'll put 1 here because they can use it. They cannot. They can also use it. Okay. Now, the way this works is on our second player aid card. You can see down here, it's pretty straightforward. You add up the points, and then you get a column from that. You roll a d6. It tells you what kind of shift you get. So the points are based on the size of the unit, not its combat strength. So the Soviets, the Konev group here has 3 threes, and each of those are infantry. They're worth 1 point each. So that would be 3 points. And so then you would roll a die. So let's do that. We're going to roll 1 die. And we got a 2. And a 2 on this table is actually nothing. I can show you. So we were in this column, and a 2, as you can see, is nothing. So obviously you want to use it when you have more units, and that's hard to do unless they're shock units. So we did this one already. So we get no column shifts. So now let's just resolve the combat. So their attack factors are 3, 3, and 3. That's 9. Their defense is, and this is a Panzer unit. Yeah, that's a Panzer unit, as you can see. Grazer. That is going to be a 4, because it's the middle one. So 9 to 4 would be 2 to 1. They do not get a column shift, so we're going to be in this one here. And we're going to roll. And we got a 1, which is a bad one. That is an attack 1 loss. So we'll just take the bottom guy and we'll flip him to a reduce there. They lose a step. No retreat or anything like that necessary. Now this one is going to be a little bit better because we have here guards units. So there's a 3 there for that mechanized infantry, which is a guards unit. That's worth 2. And these tanks are also worth, what are these? Are these shock? No, they're guards tanks. So you've got 4 total. So we're in the 4 column this time. You got a 2. A 4 column with a 2 is a 1 shift to the right. Now the attacking force is going to be pretty good. It's 12 plus 4 is 16. Against 3, that is 5 to 1, which is the highest column you can get. So that -1 shift isn't even going to apply. They get a 3. A 3 in the 5 to 1 is defender 1 step loss and retreat 1. So who did I say he was attacking? This guy? I mean, it's the same, so it really doesn't matter. We'll just say it's this guy. So he's going to take a step loss and has to retreat 1, and then they can advance. I think we'll do that. Advance there. You know what? No, we're going to advance all of them. I don't think the Germans will be doing all that much. Okay, so that's done. Now we'll attack here. We're going to try to hit this one, I think. We'll take the infantry. He's going to get a column shift for being in the forest. We have 5, 8, 11, 14 against 3. That again, that is a 4 to 1. So we will roll, and we get a 4. And a 4 on a 4 to 1 is D1, R1. So he's got to take a loss and retreat. Now they do have a second belt here. We're going to actually move these 2 up and leave these 2 there. To meet the stacking rules, right? Because you can't have 4. So that's why you do that. And I forgot to move the reinforcements in. Just realized that at the end of the movement phase. So let me check what hex they actually enter, and I think it's these 3 here. And yes, that is true. So they would come in 10, 11, 12. So if we came in here, and again, you can overstack in turn 1 and then go there with that group. These are all Konev troops. We'll put these 2 in here, and we'll have them come in there and go here. That makes it nice and easy, and we don't have to worry about anything else. So now that these actually came in, they can actually attack as well. So these guys have 14 to 4. That is 3 to 1. They got a 4. 3 to 1, 4 is a D, R2. So they have to retreat to 1, 2. And they can move up 1. They have to stop there. But the tank could actually advance. I mean, we'll do that. Tank can advance. Actually, mechanized can advance. All of these are mechanized. So I'm going to move one of the mechanized with them. Let's have this stack attack that one. 4, 8, 12, 18. 18 to 4 is 4 to 1. Got a 5. 5 is D1, R2. So they lose 1 and they have to retreat 2. 1, 2. These guys will move up. Well, I'm going to leave the tank here, I think, so that they can, well, that's across the border, so we can't attack there. So we're going to move here, and I'll stop 2 and move the other 2 there. Okay. Now let's move on to Zhukov. 3, 6, so that's 12 to 3. That would be a 4 to 1. Let's just do that, and we'll also use we'll use some air support on this one. So air support is a +1 DRM. It's not a column shift. So these are Zhukov's. He's got 2, and Konev has 1 that I neglected to use because I forgot. So here is 1, right? The 16th Air Army. They will support this guy, so he's going to get a +1. And I said it was 12 to 3, so that is a 4 to 1. With a +1 DRM, 3 becomes 4. 3 to 1, 4 is DR2. So they have to retreat 2. 1, 2. These guys can move up. We'll move up just 1 because that's all they can do. They are infantry. We'll move 3 and leave 1. Oh, actually, he's cavalry, but I don't think. Yeah, we're going to stay like that. This becomes flown, so I'll flip that over and put it in its box again. Now we'll move on to this one. We'll have them attack here into Frankfurt. Now, Frankfurt is a city. It's actually a town, I guess, for game purposes. And it gets a, it's other terrain in Hex, so that doesn't get any terrain bonus. So we're going to attack with these 3, 6, 9, plus these, be 11, 20, 24 to 6, 4 to 1. And we'll use our other air support, why not? All right, 4 to 1, that's a 2. Comes a 3 in the 4 to 1, saves us from an exchange 2 to a DR2. So these guys have to get out of here. Let me check on the garrison, but for now I'm just going to move them back here, I guess. And then we'll move these 3 up. I think these are 3, right? Yes, so they can stay where they are, but they're both been used, so. Okay, quick correction. Let me move these guys back. Garrison units take a step loss and do not retreat. So they would stay there, and the other one would retreat too. Okay, so these 2 are done. Now we get to an assault. Okay, so we're going to add these up. We've got a guards, and a guards. That is 6. So that's a good column to be in. Let's roll. It's a 2. That is a 1 column shift to the right. Okay, so they are 4, 4 and 4, 12. And 12 to 4 is 3 to 1. We'll make it a 4 to 1. Let's roll. We got a 1. A 4 to 1 is an exchange 1. So both sides will take a step loss here. Oh, and they're on the Seelow Heights. So that would actually have canceled that because we get, yeah, I've been forgetting the column shifts. Shoot. We got to the river. I forgot about the column shifts. So let me go back. So this one was a DR2, which I think was here. And with 2 column shifts, that would have been an exchange 1. So let's put him back. And they will lose a step. Okay. That was the first attack that crossed the river. All right. Now this one, it's a 1. We got to 4 to 1, but we have to go back to 2 to 1, and that means an attacker step loss. So they're going to take a step loss. All right. So I have to remember, because this is important for the it's important for the Germans in terms of their defense, that they get the full benefit because they are thin. All right. So that one's done. We'll come up here. We'll have this guy 4, 4, 5. That is 13 to 3. 4 to 1, which becomes a 2 to 1. So he needs to roll high. A 3 is not going to do it. Oh, and we get a -1 too. So that becomes a 2 in the 1 to 1. 2 is attacker 1. So they lose a step as well. Now we're going to use this one and that one to attack here. So this is going to be 5, 5, 4, 4. So that's 18, 21, 24, 27. Now we need to resolve the assault here. And these are regular troops, so this is going to be a 3. Should have put it on there. Live and learn. So that's a 3. So let's roll and see what happens here. A 5 is actually pretty good. That's a 2 shift to the right. So that's going to negate their shifts, which is good for the Russians. All right. So they are in a 5 to 1. And they negate they will take a -1 on the roll, but they negate the column shift losses. So that's going to be a 2. And a 2 is a DR2. So It's this guy. He's going to boogie back 2. 1, 2. These guys will cross the river. Actually, no. We'll let these guys cross the river. 3 of them. All right. That way we maintain the stacking limit. All right, so we got this one here, which is 9. 9 to 3 is 3 to 1. That would become 1 to 1 attacking across the river. So, and a -1 on the die roll. That's attacker 2 losses. So let's just eliminate a unit. Again, well, do we want to do that? No. We maintain more strength if we keep all the units. We just reduce 2 of them. Okay. Well, let's go up here. Got our last assault. So we got guards. We got 1 guards and 2 regular. That's going to be 4. So let's see what kind of result we get from that. A 4 is a 2R. Okay, so that will negate the penalty for jumping across. Now we'll attack with these guys and these guys. So we get 4, 7, 10. 16 to 2 is 8 to 1, becomes a 5 to 1. Okay. And a -1 on the die roll. 3 becomes a 2, which is DR2. So 1, 2. We'll jump all 3 of these guys across. And that ends the Soviet turn. So now we would go to the Germans. They don't get any reinforcements. What they do, and there are no replacements in this either. So what they're going to do is they're just going to actually move some units around to kind of, bulk up the defense a little bit. Here, I might keep that guy there. Let's move this one. Let's move them. Let's move them here. Actually, yeah, because a minor river gives you a -1 DRM, so that's worth it. He's also in a forest, which would give you a woods. I guess I'll leave him there. I'm not going to move this guy. We need to see if we can actually prevent them. But the attack, if they attack here, they're not coming across they're not crossing the fortifications. They already did that. And they're not crossing the river because they already did that. So that one's going to be full power against this guy here. But he's got a 3 defense, which is pretty good. Maybe I will move him. Let's bulk that defense up, right? We need to hold our ground here. I'm going to move him up here to kind of slide into that defensive position. What's it cost to move through woods? 1.5 movement points. Let's move him here. Bolster that guy. And I'm going to move this tank up onto the Seelow Heights. Now, you can use your tanks as support. There are a couple counters in here that you can put on map, reduce this guy, and kind of make a detachment that goes to someone else. And I'm going to move these 2 up here. Then we're going to try and close some of these holes. So let's go here. Because there is a defensive belt there. And, man, this is rough. Let's go 1, 2, which costs 3 movement points, but he's got 3 movement points. Put them down there. These guys cannot attack there because of the lake. So that might not be worthwhile then, right? Well, we'll leave them there anyway. You can see how thin things are here for the Germans. So that is going to do it. Now, there is op moves, which would give you 2 extra movement points. I don't know that the Germans will use that all that much, but the Soviets will, I'm sure. So having completed that, there are no supply or replacement rules, as I believe I mentioned. I think that is it. This is a fairly straightforward game. So I think we'll play one more turn here. Since we're about a half hour in, we'll play a second turn, and then we will probably finish this video. Okay, so we go back to the beginning, initial. I don't think there are any reinforcements this turn, if I remember correctly. Yeah, there's just turn 1 reinforcements for the Russians and turn 5 for the Germans with the 12th Army. So let me just go right on to the next turn here. And movement. So how do we want to... Should bulk some of these guys up, right? I'm going to move 13th Army. That's 1.5. They're going to move here. Then these guys are 28th Army. These came on as reinforcements. Because of the stacking limit, I might just leave them there. Move them up here. Let's move some of these guys in. We have stacking limit issues here. It would prevent us from really doing a whole lot. But let's move these tanks up to support the Polish division there to attack across, or the army, I guess. Oh, corps, sorry, corps. Polish corps, yeah. I think that might be all I can really do here. You know, once these guys move up, now that they've made a bridgehead, these guys could jump over, but they can't right now because of the stacking limits. So, as I said, there are no reinforcements, so we go right to combat. Oh, I forgot to flip these over. Let's start in the south again. I will remember to use my air support this time, and we're going to put it on this guy. And he's got a 4 and a 6 is a 10. I should have moved that one over. I'm going to do it now because they're in the same army. 4th Guard tank. Then we can move them there. So that works. All right. So you got 4, 4, and 6. That is 14 to 4. And they will get a +1. He gets a -1 shift because he's in woods. So 14 to 4 is 3 to 1, becomes a 2 to 1, and they get a +1 DRM. 3. 3 + 1 is 4. That is a defender retreat 1. Go back up. These guys will advance. This gets marked here. Now let's smash this guy. This is going to take a shift. So we got 3, 6, 8, 12, 18, 24. And let's put an assault on there too. So let's see, we got guards and 2 tanks. So those are, actually they're guards, tanks. I don't know if that matters. It just says shock and guards. So I'm going to say that's 4 points because it's not, I'm not going to give them 6 for that. We'll just give them 4. And they rolled a 6, so that's going to be 2 column shifts to the right anyway. So they get a 1 column shift for the defense belt, and they get a minor river -1 DRM. So they're going to be in the 4 to 1 column. And they rolled a 2, -1 is an exchange 1. So he gets reduced. And they also take a step loss, and we'll apply it to this unit. Okay. Now, okay, what do we got? Move up here. We can have this guy attack. That's an 8 to 1. -1 for the shift there. So that is going to be a 4 to 1. Exchange 1. So that's eliminated. And they move up, and they lose a step. All right, now we'll do the same thing here. That's 10 to 1. 2 column shifts to the left, so that's going to become 3 to 1 because of the woods and the fortifications. 4 Actually, yeah, woods is, and it's a -1 DRM. So it's a 4 in the 3-to-1 column, becomes a 3. That's defender retreat 1. So they will retreat. We will move up. All right, then we're going to do the same thing here with this guy. They can't attack across the lake, and that would be outside their army boundary anyway, or front boundary. 8-to-1, and forest, so they get a 1-column shift. It's 4-to-1. They roll the 1, which is exchange 1, so there's another German eliminated unit, and they get reduced. Okay, now we can, I guess these guys don't do anything. They'll have to, but we've got, I mean, this area is in, it's thin down there, man. Konev is making great progress. So let's move up here now. So we've got these 3, 3, 3, 3. That's 9. He's a 3. He's going to get a 1-column shift. So that 9-to-3, that 3-to-1 becomes 2-to-1. Yeah, we're gonna put an assault on here. See what we get. A 2. 2 is nothing. Okay. No modification. So it's just 9-to-3. 3-to-1 becomes 2-to-1. We rolled a 6. That's a good roll. 6 on 2-to-1 is defender 1, R1. So he's going to lose a step, and he has to retreat 1, and they can move up. And will. Now here we've got a little bit of a conundrum, because their defense rating is a 6. They're in the woods and behind fortifications. That's not great. So if we attacked, well, this guy would be attacking across the river, so that's not going to be helpful. We're going to use our second assault. We're going to put on here, and we'll do our third assault up here. Yeah, that's good. So we're going to do this one, attacking. Their defense here is a 5. So they've got guards, guards, guards. So that is a 6. A 5 is a 2-column shift to the right. So that's going to negate their 2-column shifts. Right? So and then you can mark that with this. And then they'll add these guys, which is 8 plus 6 is 14, 19, 23 to 5 is a 4-to-1. 4-to-1 with no shift, but they do take a -1 DRM. 3, so that becomes a 2. And a 2 in the 4-to-1 is exchange 2. That's rough. So they will remove this guy. This guy gets reduced. And then we'll take a non-guards unit to take the loss. So we'll just take this one. All right. And that's that one. Turns out I've been a little bit more difficult on the Russians than I should have been. What you do is you look at the odds, and then you reduce or shift from there. So, for example, we have this guy, which is 4-4-2, that's 10, 14, 19, 22, okay, attacking a 3. That is 7-to-1. That's going to get reduced to 5-to-1 because of the 2-column shift. And a 4 on the 5-to-1 with a -1 becomes a 3. D1, R1. So he's going to get reduced. He has to retreat, so he'll go there. And we'll take our guards here and jump the river. These guys are also done. So now we're here. And we might leave these guys here. Just do this, because that's 14 to 5. So 14 to 5, but no column shifts. So it's still 2-to-1. Barely. Oh, you know what? Let's do this. We'll give them a +1 by using air support. And that's a 1, which becomes a 2. And that is an exchange 1. So Whoops. We'll reduce this guy, so they're both reduced now. And we'll reduce this guy, the Russian side. Okay. Now we'll have these two combined to attack this one, which has a defense rating of 4. Right? And we'll give them the other bonus here. So they get 6, 12, 15, 18, 20, 22. 22 to, what was this again? 5? 4. 22 to 4 is 5 to 1. So it's going to become 3 to 1 with a +1. 4. Actually, it's a +1 and a -1, so that just stays a 4. 4 and 3 to 1 is a DR2. So they have to retreat 2. And these guys can cross. It's now flown. Okay, we have 1 left. This is salt. 2, 3, 4. That's in the 4 column. 2 in the 4 column is a 1 shift to the right. 1 R. And they have 4, 7, 10, 2, 5. So that's a 2 to 1 becomes a 3 to 1. There are no other column shifts. 3 to 1. A 5 in the 3 to 1 column. D1, R1. So they're going to take a loss. I'm going to retreat here. So they'll go there. And that ends their turn. Now the Germans will go. And let's see. I like the idea of maybe going for a more defensive look here. So we're going to pull these guys back, I think. We have a 3. Crossing a minor river. No. Okay, that doesn't affect movement points. So they can go here and there. They could have done it one at a time, right, to prevent overstacking, because there's only 2 units there. Then I'm going to retreat this one here to get behind the defensive belt. Actually, maybe they'll go there. We'll put one here. And we're going to stay on the Seelow Heights. Might be better off moving this guy back. You'll still get 2 column shifts. And I'm just trying to kind of shorten the line here, bolster things a little bit. We're going to move these 2 here. And we're going to slide him down. Sacrificial lamb. This is really rough. Like down here. Konev's going to beat Zhukov to Berlin, I'm pretty sure. At least it looks that way. So that would be the end. The Germans are not going to do any combat. They don't have any place where the odds would be particularly good, I don't think. Most of their offensive firepower is, I mean, they got 1 there. I could throw some heavy tank support at them. Well, we've got what here? 4. 2 is 6. That's 6, 8, 9. 2, 4, 4, 3. See, that's 11. That's less than 1. That'd be a 1 to 2 attack. That's not worth it. Not worth it. So I think that is going to do it here. I'm going to stop here. Here's your chance to speak up. If I get enough likes and comments saying that you want to see more, I will do more. Like I said, this is a very straightforward game, just like Veliki Luki was, which was the first of Michael Taylor's Russian Front series. Also a small game in terms of the map and straightforward rules, but a good, it's kind of a good tactical puzzle in a way. I know this is more operational level, but you get my point, I think, as far as how the Germans can trade, as little space as possible and make the Russians bleed, I guess, is really what it is. I mean, you're just delaying the inevitable as the Germans here. But inflict as many Russian casualties as possible, and that will give you victory points, which I have not been tracking. So let's talk about that real quick before we wrap this up. So in terms of victory conditions, each German unit that is eliminated awards victory points to the Soviet player. You get 1 victory point for that. They have 3 boxes in there, so you have two counters. There's a 1, so that would go to 3. Germans have the same thing. They get victory points. Where is the German victory points here? Soviets get 2 for each Berlin hex occupied. Oh, Germans get 2 for each Berlin hex occupied on turn 7 and 8. So we are not at 7 or 8 yet. So the Russians have 3 victory points and Germans have none. So that's kind of how that works. And like I said, that's it for this one. Speak up if you want more. And again, if it's just a couple people, handful of people, that probably won't be enough. Just, fair warning. I have a lot of games I want to get to. And it's not that I don't like this game. I do. But I can finish it up off camera, to be honest, and take a lot less time. But anyway, I'm going to flip these over just in case when I do continue. So again, thank you for watching. Again, comment if you want more, or just comment in general, questions, corrections, that kind of stuff. Put them in the comment section. I'll do my best to get back to you as soon as I can. Otherwise, quick shout out. Thank you to my channel members, as always. I do want to thank them. And yeah, that's probably it. Like, share, hype, subscribe, all that good stuff. Click the bell if you want notifications. Otherwise, thank you to my subscribers, and thank you all for watching. Hopefully you'll come back and check something else out down the road, but we're done now. I am Joe. This is the Hexed and Countered channel, and until next time, as always, happy gaming.